be here with on this platform with you to discuss your new book, which is a very, very interesting book. It's been called a diplomatic thriller. It is a real page turner. Just want to ask you what could be considered a disruptive question. So how does it feel to be an author?
For diplomats, it's normal to record their views. It's not unusual for us because as part of our work, we do record what happens, how engagements take place, and we report. So it was not new for me that way. Also, having been the official spokesperson, I also realized that engaging with the public and a broader audience is important for people to understand foreign policy. And this book is only a step forward because I just thought that institutions have good stories to tell, and those good stories need to be told.
I understand the former External Affairs Minister called herself the Don Quixote and you became the Sancho Panza. Tell us that story.
Well, she was responding to criticism that this was not possible. And she had heard some of our former colleagues tell that, you know, this is a unthinkable goal that you're trying.
Losing proposition, yeah.
Absolutely a losing proposition. To her credit, she was leading from the front. So she said, well, in this quest, I will be Don Quixote and you can be my Sancho Panza who will help me tilt at these windmills. But for her engagement and leading from the front, we would have found it very difficult to ward off the naysayers.
But at some stage, I believe you had to gamble a bit. That because I think when the things were not clear, there was neck and neck, and you know it looked like the P5 solidarity would not break, and you know the UK would try all sorts of things. Were you under pressure?
In a long election campaign, in the heat of the moment, many people say many things. So there were many suggestions made saying that nobody else has ever unseated a permanent member. So we are in the lead. Let's declare a moral victory and split the election. This was one suggestion. The other suggestion was that, look, let's work out a deal somewhere else. We can't win here. Maybe we get something else. Now, that's where our political leadership played a role. They could have agreed to any of these suggestions, but they were amenable to what we were thinking and proposing. And we kept telling them, give us time. There is opportunity for us to triumph. But to the credit of the then External Affairs Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, the then Foreign Secretary, who's now the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, and Prime Minister, because he had himself taken a lead in seeking votes. And there were very interesting times when he sought votes and intervened on our behalf at crucial intervals. So they all took that decision to give us space as diplomats who are in the trenches. Maybe I should turn the tables now and ask you the question. While I was in New York, I remember you providing advice. You also mentioned that you would be willing to lobby the State Department and the NSC. So Navtej, let me be the questioner. And let me ask you this question, that what did you do then? It would be a good metaphor of how people beyond the UN work.
The battles are really fought in New York. There's a lot of sort of heavy lifting which goes on in other places at headquarters, at different bilateral embassies, because there are, you know, but the bilateral diplomacy and multilateral diplomacy, as you know, are actually linked, because it's all about your relationships with a particular country, and that can influence what is happening in New York. In this particular field, the US we knew they would not. They would have to side with the UK because of the P5 solidarity, but they were actually seen to be working in some places against India. So I think you had reached out, if I remember right, to Ambassador Nikki Haley to say that, okay, don't support us, but don't work against us. Then when I also reached out to her through my channel, and she was very, very responsive because, she was very much devoted and committed to the India-US strategic partnership. The second thing was that I also reached out directly to the National Security Council, to the Deputy National Security National Security Advisor of the day. And she also immediately responded saying that, no, she's got Nikki's message and now we are, they are working on it. And you actually saw the change happening on the ground in New York. We wind off, now that you're bitten by the bug, what's the next book?
Well, going by the trajectory that I followed you in many places, I may follow in writing something else. But first, I hope this book finds itself being well appreciated and read. Maybe that will enthuse me to go the next step. So my plea right now is for everybody to try and see if you find this of interest and let me know so that may enthuse me to go the next step. That step is still some time away.
Thank you, Ambassador Akbaruddin. And I would also underline that this is a book well worth the reading. It's not only shows you the details of how a particular diplomatic victory was scored, but it shows you what diplomacy is all about. It demystifies diplomacy in many ways and shows you the human effort that goes behind a very large seeming concepts.